Hello once again, and welcome back to the Side Quest Sages podcast. My name is Luke Tatum.
And I'm Corey Sins.
We are working on some kind of way to associate ourselves with the two wizard hats. We were just talking about that pre-show. Corey's the red hat, and I'm the blue hat, and I don't know what that means yet, but we'll come up with something. So we're playing Chrono Trigger, once again, continuing our series. We are... On this episode, we are in chapter 15, 16, and 17. That is the Fiendlord's Keep, Forward to the Past, and Unnatural Selection. And I know that I have been giving extremely ambitious goals for how far that we're going to make it in each week. And then I have more stuff going on. Corey has stuff going on. You know, we just have not been meeting the goals. And this is me being an optimist or something. But what I've done is look at a walkthrough of the game and say, okay, this is not that much space. It's been a long time since last time I played it. I played it on the DS, whenever the DS version came out. And so I'm like, that's not going to take that long. No big deal. But I don't know exactly what story chapters it is. And so as I play, I'm like, there's no way this is 1 hour of content, right? We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So y'all just have to continue to forgive us. This is our first book club playthrough thing, but we're gonna get better, and we're gonna keep trying.
I definitely think on the whole we haven't had any difficulty making it to an hour on recording. So, well, we're gonna continue that trend, and we'll get it right at some point.
Yeah, that's right. So we left off where let's see, where we went through the cave. Frog has cut open. We talked about Frog cutting open the mountain. He goes through the cave. The bat is following you, and we're before the Fiendlord's Keep. And so this is where we begin this stage of our journey. Of course, if you're new to this channel or this podcast, go back and start at the beginning of Chrono Trigger. We also do other episodes on other stuff, but that's where we're going to begin. And the Fiendlord's Keep is by far the longest, thing that we've done so far as a enemy filled area, I would say. First impressions, the cutscene that shows off the castle and all that stuff. What do you think about the Fiendlord's Keep?
So I had seen the splitting open because we had talked about the intro or the outro for our show, and so we put in a couple of things that were meaningful to us, and I'd seen that animation, but I had no context, and so it was a lot of fun to see that put into place, walking through, and then basically show up to a Halloween haunted house, basically. Just almost the dark and stormy night, and the bats, and the dead trees, and glowing lights, and things like that.
Yeah, it is very much that Halloween-y kind of aesthetic, right? And it's also a little bit there's kind of this subtext throughout the game in various places of this sort of thing. The prison block where you're in prison, kind of has some horror elements to it, right? There's a body that'll fall out of the shackles and turn into a skeleton, and things like that. And so you kind of have this, but it's not taking itself too seriously. Right. And so this is the culmination in a lot of ways of a lot of these little things. Even the whatever it is, Shop of Horrors, Tent of Horrors, or whatever, the little thing at the Millennial Fair is kind of spooky and has a little, wah, 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 little laugh, and stuff as you go in. That is kind of a reference to something else that we'll talk about when we do that other game. But so notes that I had on this is the bat is still following us at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And, sweet cutscene to kind of show it off. But then when you go in the doors, there's no music. It is quiet as the grave inside. And, there's lots of people, or what appear to be people, kind of spread throughout. And they say things that are very, very scary, right? He, or, let's play. There's little kids and stuff, and so it's all very horror movie, kind of The Shining or whatever, right? So I have a lot of little notes in here, but is there anything that stood out to you?
It felt like they were obviously something was off.
Yeah.
They felt like ghosts or reflections of something. You did see the king, my mom,
Yeah.
or I should say, Chrono's mom. I didn't see my mom in the game.
Yeah, right. It's not a
Hopefully.
Rorschach test or whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna learn a lot about ourselves about playing this game.
Well,
We will.
yeah, we will.
I'm joking, but I'm also not joking. But, aside from that, it was very haunting, and I don't know what I was anticipating necessarily. I felt like it was evil, but not at the same time. I was kind of going into it with an open mind. I talked with everybody and got a few of the chests and things like that without activating some of the fighting scenes. And then, actually that's right. There wasn't any fighting at all. It was more of just to get an impression of the area, explore it. There was a few chests, but
well, it's unsettling, right? I mean, because there is no combat. You're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to go in and we're going to take out the Fiendlord, right? We're gonna fight Magus and fulfill Frog's destiny, or whatever. And you go in, and then it's like you can't even fight anything if you want to for a while, right? It's like, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, it's just House of Mirrors kind of thing. And this, as you explore and do some of these things, you mentioned Chrono's mom. So whoever you have in your party, there's a reflective kind of person that is important to them.
Yeah.
Luca, her dad will be there, right? I don't know all the possibilities, but I had Luca and I had Frog, of course, with me. And so Frog will see Queen Lean. And so it's like, they'll say something really like, unsettling to the party as you talk to them. And whenever combat is actually on the menu, whenever you can actually have fights, those same characters are still there, but they'll turn into monsters and then fight you here in a second. But this is, there's something, we may talk about this for a while, we may not, I don't know. But after you kind of explore, there's a fake save point. In front of that window in the first room. And the save point, in RPGs, the save point is a sanctimonious, sacred spot. You're not supposed to get hurt in a save point, right? It is a space for you to save your progress, log out of the game, heal, whatever. It is not supposed to like darken and then pop a boss out of nowhere to attack you, right? That's not how save points work. And so it is a big deal to, for me. I think that's a big deal as a gameplay decision, a game design decision, to say, ha 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 ha, just kidding,
Just kidding.
It's Ozzie, right, that pops out. And so, and it does this to you more than one time in the Fiendlord's Keep. There are more than one fake save point. There's actually a lot. There's even save points that fight you later.
That's right.
Or is that's in the next
later
area.
on?
Yeah,
it's when we're chasing Ozzie. Yeah.
Right. And so, so Ozzie says, "Welcome, Glenn," or should I say, Sir Froggy? Ha ha ha! Never expected to see you here. Are those your replacements for Cyrus? Lord Magus is a tad busy right now. You'll have to take your business up with me. And so all of these guys, the generals, they all make fun of Frog and put him down and tease about his being a frog and all this. The fights themselves, or the fights with the enemies that Ozzie summons, are pretty easy. Like, they one hit for Frog usually, but just the fact again that the save point kind of fakes you out, and then haha, you have to fight now. It's kind of a big betrayal. So, what do you think? I guess
it wasn't really impactful for me, but the fact is, when you bring that up, I'm like, oh, of course, that is something that was an idea that was kind of betrayed in a way, not in a bad way from the game designer's perspective, but from what we expect.
Right.
And so that's something that this game has been really doing really well. And before we get too far, I have in my party, I have Frog and I have Marl.
Oh, good.
And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
we saw the king, we saw my mother, Chrono's mother, and then we saw the queen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was it. It definitely is. It's just like ripples going backwards, or I guess forwards in time. Because we're all over the place in
Or both
time. Actually,
directions, right? Yeah, it goes
yeah,
everywhere.
that's what a ripple does, I suppose. Right.
Yeah. No, it's
Um,
good.
let's see. Are you going to talk about Slash and the name Slash and in Flea?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
notes on that. Should I just go ahead and get into that?
I think that's kind of where I'm leading into is um
Okay.
yeah so the one thing, the kids, there were kids around
Oh
a
yeah.
chest. I did not take that treasure, so I have no idea what that is. It felt like one of those things where um this is I think where the game is kind of playing inside my head, where I didn't need it. I didn't need whatever was in that chest. I they were I let them keep their treasure. I don't know. We'll see if anything comes from that, but I have no idea what would have happened.
That is so interesting. It's not anything I don't think that's super duper special in that particular chest. Like it might be a capsule is probably the best thing it could be. So
I think,
these
yeah, I did get some magic capsules around the area.
yeah, those are very useful. I always dump them all on Chrono. But you can put them on whatever character you want and increase their stats. And you should use them. Please do that. You may not know exactly who your final boss party is going to be right now. You kind of figure Chrono, he's the main character, right? So like that's kind of my mindset. I'll just max out Chrono's stats if I can. But it's actually almost impossible in this game without tons and tons and tons of grinding to get to like max level or anything. So you don't really have to worry about it. Anyway, yeah, chess pretty inconsequential on the grand scheme. It's not like some unique item that's going to have a quest or something like
That's
that.
kind of what I figured.
But that's funny. That is so funny that you decided to treat it like that. Yeah, so let's talk about Ozzie, Slash, and Flea. So we'll talk about the boss fights with those two in a second. But Ozzie is named after John Michael Osborne, or otherwise known as Ozzy Osbourne, the singer and founding member of a founding member of Black Sabbath. Slash is Saul Hudson, aka Slash, the lead guitarist of Guns N' Roses. And Flea is Michael Peter Balzeri, otherwise known as Flea, the bassist and founding member of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now, why are they named that? Have you done any research on this?
I did not research, but we've got the whole band there. We've got the singer, we've got a guitar player, and then we have the bass player.
Right. There's a line in the original version that's something like Magus and the somebody's. There's something like it's some kind of joke. I don't even remember because it's been forever, but they kind of lean into that joke a little bit in the original. There are some weird localization decisions in the original that we talked about, like Frog speaks in super, super old English for some reason, even though nobody else does in 600 AD. And so, like, they didn't. The guy, Ted Woolsey, was the translator. He translated the whole game from Japanese. And he's the one who made this decision to name them after these rock musicians. It was just trying to make them sound cool. So in the Japanese, they're named after condiments. And so Ozzie is named vinegar, Slash is named soy sauce, and Flea is named mayonnaise. And he's like, well, kids in the US are going to think that's stupid, so I guess I'll make them sound cool.
Don't worry, 20 years later, they're going to think it's awesome.
Well, yeah, right. It's totally fine. Now, there is a remnant of this, okay, and so I'm fast forwarding a little bit. Let me skip down to where Ozzie is. I think I bolded this because it's the funniest thing in the universe. So, here, let me find it. I'm in the wrong window. So you're chasing Ozzie we're gonna go back and talk about Slash and Flea, but we're chasing Ozzie, and he has all these traps, and he's like doing different things, cranking these things to like try to
Uh-huh.
cut you with blades and all this stuff. Um, and you catch up to him, and then he'll like run away, right? And so the last time he's run out of tricks and different things he can use to delay you and keep you away. He says, "Ozzie's in a pickle," and then he runs away. And the reason he says that is a nod to the fact that his name is Vinegar in Japanese, right? So
That's perfect.
it's
Oh my
so
God.
funny. I
Ugh,
screenshotted that. It lives rent free in my head. It's the funniest thing in the world. So,
amazing.
yeah, that's good. So let's talk a little bit about some of the such stuff. I mean, anything else on that? I mean, before we move on?
No.
Okay. So, the music, the first time the music comes in is whenever Ozzie appears, which I thought was really cool. It's dead silent for a long time.
Right.
Like, for a game known for its soundtrack, I mean, it's an extended silence. And then, the music comes in, and he says there's 100 monsters in the castle. I don't think there really is exactly 100, but whatever.
Can feel it.
And, there's some really cool like dialogue and stuff some of these monsters have. Big enemy in the left hallway, he says, "Dance, dance, the god of all fiends is born tonight. Ah, the sacrifice has arrived," whenever you walk in and talk to him. There's skeletons that are repeatedly coming back together and then fighting and killing each other and then falling apart again, and that's kind of like horror show crazy.
It was a lot of fun.
All kinds of stuff. Eventually we fight Slash. He's the next guy. And so what I wrote as far as dialogue, I must admit I'd not even dreamed you would find the courage to come here. Had Cyrus not been with you last time, your fate would have been the same as all the others. And so I feel like a lot of these skeletons that we're fighting are like soldiers and stuff from previous battles, perhaps.
That makes sense.
But you fight him. He's only using his hands for a little bit, right? He like pokes you and stuff. And then he's like, "Oh, you've some prowess for the first time in ages. Perhaps I'd best employ all of my own as well." And so then he leaps up above that chair and grabs that sword that I know you walked in that room and were like, "Ooh, I want that sword." Right? And so he reaches up there and gets it, and that's his blade. And so then you have a real fight. And he's not a pushover. He's got some tricks and stuff for you. He has Wind Slash. He's like got some of Chrono's moves and stuff. And what you know as Cleave, where he jumps up and slashes down. He's got that same move too. And he will do positioning. This is another little like subtle tutorial, right? Pretend all you've done all this whole game so far is auto attack and like, oh my gosh, I got to use a spell, and you cast a spell. But you're basically just grinding levels or something. You're playing it like Final Fantasy. I know you don't have a history with them, but Final Fantasy 1 especially is like so grindy and tedious. And so, but he moves around. Slash moves around the room and will use Wind Slash, and it can hit 2 or even 3 of your party, like your whole party at once. Right. And so it's like, hey, wait a minute, I have that move. Hey, wait a minute, maybe I should think about positioning in the map, to maximize my Wind Slash. Like, if you haven't done that, if you haven't experimented, it's like, hey, what about this? Like, look, it's exactly the same move. It's called the same thing, So just little subtle stuff I really appreciate.
I guess my question is, can you actually position yourself? I mean, I know you can position where you attack.
You can't position yourself, but
okay,
you can. There's a move I don't think you have this right now. Maybe you do, where you can throw enemies, and so you can actually throw enemies into a new spot, and like there's ways to do that, but
manipulate. Okay.
Because every fight is kind of like pre-scripted in a sense, where the enemies are going to be, and they have like movement areas. You can wait a little bit, like if they move together sometimes, then go into your menu to choose your attack, right? Because then the original version of the game, it'll freeze them to do that. And so, you know what? Excuse me. The original version of the game, it won't do that, and they will keep moving.
Okay.
So, But anyway, I just thought that was a cool little thing. And let's see. You actually get the sword, which I thought was another really nice touch. That's a really good sword for Chrono. When, and again, he has Chrono's moves and stuff, so, whatever. But it's called, well, I don't know I guess I forgot to write down the name. But he drops that sword and you get to use it after you beat him. So we go fight Flea. What did you think of Flea?
It was very a flamboyant character for sure. Just
yeah.
I am basically like both, androgynous, but male and female, and magician and illusions, and definitely I think I definitely felt a little bit more difficulty fighting Flea than I did Slash.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some tricks in this fight. Definitely some things going on. The fake version that you fight at first, like there's just so much, just kidding. Like in this castle specifically, the save point and, bosses with a first phase that's weak and then they get harder and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, Flea is not even, at first it's this yellow floating enemy and then like you instantly win and it's like, that wasn't Flea. So, but that is cool because it takes out the MP of one of your party members. For me, it was Chrono, but it like totally drains the MP of one of your party members. So you're forced to start the real fight with no MP on one of your characters. And it's just like, okay, now I have to juggle using items, and making sure that we can fight normally and stuff. So just cool little touches. It's not the end of the world for you to have no MP, but it's kind of a interesting situation to throw you into. Canonically, I guess Flea is male, and so there's kind of a joke depending on who's in your party about that. And the fight is crazy though. Like I had Chrono, Frog, and Robo for this one. I swapped out party members a lot for different fights, and the reason I did that is because my Robo, Frog, and Chrono have a triple attack, and so they can all three use a tech together. And so that's kind of how I handled that, right? I was like trying to make sure things were set up with the status effects and stuff, like trying to keep people healed of their status so that we could do that whenever everybody was ready. And, it's pretty big damage, but like still, it's a pretty hard fight.
I didn't have to do anything special for these fights to hang on there. I think it was just more of trying to, guess and check on whether physical or magic damage, which magic damage was more effective, if it cycled or anything like that. And I don't recall having much or any difficulties. And so I just remember the characters for themselves and not much of the fighting.
Sure. Well, me, I like talking about
this
the battle.
Particular battle.
Yeah. Does your Chrono have lightning 2 at this point?
It does. He does. Sweet. Now. Yes.
Sweet.
I think about halfway through this playthrough is when I got that.
Sweet move. Helps you like clear whole rooms, enemies and stuff. It's kind of like the laser thing that Robo has where he can attack the whole room. Very, very cool. Let's see. So then we do the bit with Ozzie, right, where he's running away. You've defeated 2 of the 3 generals, but Ozzie's a big scaredy cat, so Ozzie's in a pickle. He runs away. And he freezes himself. You get to this big room, and it's this whole built-up thing, and then he, like, encases himself in ice so that you can't hurt him. And then you attack the cranks
the winches,
and things. Yeah, winches, yeah. And then he falls through the floor, and that's the end of that. So, okay.
I just kept like lightning, just doing like the lightning on everything, but it would only attack one of the winches at a time plus him.
Oh, interesting.
And then it would, have the animation of the floor dropping out. Yeah. And then you get to the end and boop, goodbye.
It's so funny. And, and again, it's just kind of the comedic nature of those guys, the generals, and it can't take it too seriously, right? If they're all serious characters, it would be like a dark game. This is not a dark game, most of the time.
I'm not convinced that Ozzie is completely gone forever. He fell. So, and I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear a splash or anything like that. Or so I feel like there might be something still there.
Yeah, your intuition probably serves you well. I don't actually remember what happens, but we'll find out, I'm sure. So let's see. Oh, another quick note as we chase Ozzie, there's kind of a reference to Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong game, in some of those side scrolly kind of areas. You get on a little ladder.
I actually said that. That's so funny. Um, yeah, I took a screenshot of like the external part of the castle, and there's eventually get to the part where one of the guys is just a bomb, or kind of like a Voltorb with Pokemon. He just self destructs
Right.
destroys himself and damaging you, and you can hang off on like ropes or the chains and things. But I I was like, I'm waiting for a barrel to start falling down, coming down. It's like, this is really bringing me back to original
Yeah, I
Nintendo.
mean, and there's those little like green guys that do roll down. It's not quite a barrel, right? And so it's enough though. I feel like if you've played Donkey Kong, the original game, like instantly, it's like, oh my gosh, it's such a
It felt good.
yeah, it's so good. Um, okay, and so we get down to the bottom, and you save the game, and you're going into the room where like when you walk in this room because it's pitch dark except for these blue torches, right? So you know that it's real. This is going down. So you start walking forward, and there's some nonsense dialogue, like it says "Dal Zumal Fara Lo Liera," whatever that means, and then it says, "Cast open the gates
Open
that
the gates
betwixt heaven and earth
in Earth.
in exchange for the life of this world." And you walk up, and then the torches finish lighting themselves. You get a sweet anime cutscene of this as well. And Magus appears. I'll just read some of the dialogue. It's another great use of silence, right? The fight music, the music begins after you progress up there. You just get that crazy, like, dissonant chanting at first. And it's like that's not a theme song. It's very unsettling sounding. It's very difficult to listen to. That's the same chant we heard in the Medina Square. Whenever you first get into that area, and they're like chanting around the statue of Magus. And so Frog says, "Magus." Magus says, "Ah, that frog of so many days ago. How have you fared since we last met?" Frog says, "Well enough. I owe you my gratitude. This form has been a blessing in disguise. Without it, there are things I'd never have obtained." And he draws the sword. Magus says, "Ah, the Masamune. Then you've come for me. Let us hope no others interfere this time." And Magus, and this is very important dialogue that we will talk about a lot next episode, Magus says, "Again, the bitter black wind begins to howl. Very well. Come if it is death you seek." And so then the fight begins.
Bitter black.
I want to talk about the music here, but I want to get your first impressions before I go on a tangent. Or talk, anything on your mind about this fight.
So I spent about an hour and 15 minutes fighting. Okay, that's an exaggeration. It was probably about 45 minutes to an hour, but I spent 4-5 iterations of trying to beat him, and this was really the most difficult battle for me. Without like looking up how to do it, it was a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
And I'd get like 10 minutes into it and start losing. I only had a couple of Athenian waters left at this point, and didn't really feel like backtracking all the way to get more. And so I had the 2. I'm like, I should be able to do this. And in fact, if I played correctly, that was the case. So, having him attack from different places was difficult for a little while. If I didn't manage my health, it was a huge resource management battle, and that's if I looked at it correctly, eventually I got to the point where you had to do the hard attacks as best you could, and then start replenishing everybody, and then do it again in a couple cycles. it actually became a little bit more boring because it had to be done that way. I couldn't do anything fancy, or there really wasn't anything super fancy to do beyond my attacks that would do the most damage. I think the ice sword with Frog and Marl were the most effective, and then I would hit them with like a lightning. If I timed it correctly, it would do the most damage with the water, and then it would do the most damage with the light.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing with him is you kind of have to. I mean, you have to pay close attention, otherwise you're going to be healing him. I mean, really and truly, right? Because he will cast a lightning ability, and then he is weak to lightning attacks for a period of time, or he absorbs all but lightning attacks is the way it works, right? And so if he's absorbing other elements and you cast the wrong element, you're going to give him 300 health, right? And it's like, it's not great. So a pretty difficult fight. He's got the kind of advanced versions of almost every element. And of course you have one element, right? Chrono is a lightning character. Frog is a water character, right? And so you don't get that. You don't get to do that. He also has a move towards the end of the fight he'll use called Dark Matter, which is crazy, his space triangles and all this stuff. Does tons of damage, right? And so he's an absolute master of magic, hence the name Magus, right? But it is pretty intense, and I am sorry it took you a lot of time and effort and stuff. I will tell you, as much money as you have, I didn't want to text you this or anything because I'm trying my very hardest not to do that and say anything about the game. But from this point, like, I would keep 20 Athenian waters and 20 or 30 or 40 of every healing item, like, all the time, because there are going to be moments where it's like, ooh, boy, I mean, this is tough. If somebody does a whole bunch of status effects like Flea, every status effect you can have pretty much is going to come out in that fight. And so it sucks if you don't have any way to heal that. You don't have any panaceas in your inventory. But you good if I talk about the music for a second?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So this theme is in the Phrygian mode. It is kind of an interesting musical thing here. So it's an E Phrygian. And I have some notes. I'm not a big music theory guy. But Phrygian is a minor scale with a flat second. And so that second note is very unsettling, and it creates this kind of threatening sound. So these are some notes that I took. I watched several things about this and listened to several things about this. I've known this for a long time. But there's a video that's great, and I'll try to remember to link it and put it in the description. But it's an 8-bit music theory YouTube video called The Phrygian Mode Feels Threatening. And it talks about examples of that and whatnot. And so other examples of this are the theme from Jaws, the Jaws theme, bottom. It's just a first and second note of a Phrygian scale, right? It's a flat second. Mm-hmm. And so That is a good example. Those who fight in Final Fantasy VII. I can't. I don't know what's my deal today. Final Fantasy VII's first battle theme is called "Those Who Fight." It's in Phrygian mode. The original Norfair theme from Metroid 1 is Phrygian, and that's a very uncomfortable song. And then the Pokemon trainer battle, when you fight like Gary or whatever, blue or whatever in the original red and blue and green, that song is in Phrygian. And so there's a lot of cool stuff, and it really breaks it down and shows sheet music and stuff in that 8-bit music theory video. So definitely go watch that. It's really good if you're a music nerd. But, so it's minor with a flat second. So it's a flat 2, 3, 6, and 7. It's a lot of flat notes in a Phrygian scale, and it just feels very intense. Minor can feel sad, but flattening the second makes it feel very, very uncomfortable. Like something's coming to you.
When you start ending up in these different modes, you start to just like you're saying, you're dealing with minors a lot of the time, but then you start dealing with something called diminish and flat diminish and things like that. And they very dissonant. They evoke a lot of different feelings inside of us, and there's a reason for that. One of the more common ones would be like an Aeolian, and those are a lot of like pop songs and things like that. If I'm remembering the specific one correctly, there's 7 of them, I believe, and it's more upbeat. A lot of the songs are written there, and you're talking about when you say a second or a third, you're talking about the intervals in the scales, and these intervals are there's 7, 8 notes because you get the octave, and you're changing these intervals, and they are playing with your feelings. That is the mastery behind music, and we're talking numbers and things like that, but there's that emotion behind it all, and it drives a lot of these, this moment with Magus. It's driving it. It's making it, we will find out that it's not the way we are imagining it, but it is a life and death situation.
Yeah. And Chrono Trigger has a lot of very weird like chord progressions and stuff. Mitsuda really like experimented a lot writing this soundtrack. There is some very strange stuff. It's called, I think there's like a non-logical or something harmony, and it, weird stuff like this would normally resolve into this. Well, it doesn't, and that's all over the soundtrack. But one last little note on this too, just specifically this song. The theme, Magus's theme, like the song that you're listening to as you fight him, it's called Battle with Magus. And the melody is literally just walking down the E Phrygian scale. It's da 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 da. That's it. That's the song. There's no let's do a third, here. There's no jumping around. It just walks down the theme, the melody there. And so it's awesome. I used to be totally obsessed with this song. It still hits whenever I, replay the game, right? But it's so good. It's so cool, and it's such a big climactic moment, with the pitch black background and all this stuff. It's super intense. And anyway, I thought we should spend some music theory time because we said we would get into music in this podcast too. The after the battle, which is very difficult, then Magus says, "Your skill with the Masamune is that great already?" And stuff starts to kind of warp and shift and like spin around, and there's like all kinds of craziness happening. Depending on who's in your party, they'll say different things, right? But basically, it's Magus says, it's like, could it be Lavos, right? There's this somebody in the party will say something about Lavos. And so Magus says, no, he mustn't awaken from his slumber yet. Luca, in my party, Luca said, what do you mean? Didn't you create him? Magus says, you fools, I but summoned him. He has dwelt within the earth for eons, absorbing the land's energy and growing ever stronger. Skipping ahead a little bit, but basically a gate forms, and pulls you in. It's a massive gate, bigger than anyone that we've seen so far. And Magus says, if you had not interfered. And then, you're sucked in. You're all sucked into the gate. So, and then it does this very weird little flashbacky, weird kind of play on what's happened so far, where Chrono, you hear your name being called over and over again. You hear Lean's bell again, and instead of your mother waking you up, it's Marl.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, honey, you'll be late for work, like you're married or something, right? And, dear me, I'd forgotten how beautiful Lean's bell sounds. Chrono, we can't keep asking my father for help. You need to hold down a job.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then you wake up and you're in 65 million BC in Ayla's hut. So, any final thoughts on Magus before we get into this kind of part 2?
There's something that's not quite clear to me, but I'm not.
What is it? Tell me. What are your theories?
He doesn't. Something's not quite what we thought it was. It doesn't seem like he's the evil that we anticipated exactly. I guess just based off of what I experienced, I feel like he's trying to maybe perhaps fight Lavos or control, or I don't know.
So hard for me not to say anything.
Okay, well, it feels like he's not who we're led to believe exactly, and that seems like a common theme with the game. I think we've been moving away from the easy stuff, the black and white. I think now we're getting into this isn't as straightforward. I without any more context, really, I just feel like there's definitely a missing puzzle piece here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This game, it does such in my opinion, as a very thoroughly biased Chrono Trigger enjoyer, right? It does such a good job of leaving the door open for certain things. It's hinting at, the thing with Glenn being a different character instead of it being Cyrus, who's the frog, right? It's like, it doesn't tell you that there's this other character named Glenn, right? It kind of hides that from you. It brings that up at the right moment, but it also doesn't lie to you and tell you that Cyrus is Frog, right? It waits till the opportune moment and has these really nicely crafted little story segments that flesh out certain things and kind of give you, I see, here's the next little thread to follow. And I just love it. I just really, really love it. It's less is more in a lot of cases. We have these amazing 3D fully, game engine cutscenes and new games that, like, they're just clunky. And a lot of times the story is not that great, but it looked cool, right? And this is sort of the inverse of that. It looks perfectly fine. Chrono Trigger is a very beautiful game in the right mindset, but it's just enough. It only does what it needs to do to move things along and to give you what you need to know, instead of just, it's not Metal Gear Solid 2 with a 2.5-hour cutscene. You know what I'm saying? It just isn't that. So
it definitely plays on it wants you to think certain things. Yeah. It just doesn't lead you there. Your own psyche, brings you there, or tries to fill in I'm speaking on behalf of my brain, I should say. My brain is trying to make sense of it, is trying to put it reminds me of like Jurassic Park when they're trying to put the DNA code together. It's like, we're going to stick the frog DNA in here. And it's like, all right. So is that correct? We'll find out.
Yeah. On the next exciting episode.
We're going to find out in the next playthrough that the dinosaurs do have the ability to reproduce. Whatever that means for this game.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Let's,
there's something that we, don't know yet. I don't know, I should say.
There's many things there. And so I told you this right before we started recording, but next episode, and we're about to talk about 65 million BC, but next episode is going to be so full of just dialogue and like talking to NPCs, and like there's really not a lot of combat coming up. It's going to be a huge plot centric episode, and it's going to be fun. But that is so cool because it's been very light this whole time, right? So it's like, oh, here's the big lore dump, more or less, to kind of catch us up and get us the answers to some of these mysteries. It's coming right up. So let's see. So Ayla is gone in 65 million BC, and we find out that the Reptites took Ayla.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to go, you go to this Laruba village, which you never get to see when it's okay, right? It's just been destroyed. And so Laruba village, the chief of that village is arguing with Ayla when you find her. And, basically he blames her for the Reptites arriving at all because she's always fighting the Reptites. And they're trying to be more peaceful and secluded and stuff. So I have a line of dialogue. She says, win, live. Lose, die. That rule. No can change rule. Old man breathe, but dead inside. And so, just like, but, it actually hits with the elder, and he gives y'all dactyls or pterodactyls so that you can go storm the Tyranno Lair. And so you have to go to the dactyl nest, and you get to the top. There's not really much to talk about there. I wouldn't say. You fight through some enemies and get to the top. And I took Frog with me, so I had Ayla, Frog, and Chrono for the next little bit. But you get to actually fly around on the world map. For the first time, you have a vehicle going around the, a vehicle, air quotes. It's cool, right? Do you have any fun with that? Did you fly around?
I did fly around. I did find a cave in the northeast that was impassable and made a note. I did fly north, and then I'm like, oh wait, there's something up here. And I realized I had just circumnavigated the globe, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not nothing new.
Around the world in 4 seconds. It's very
no
quick.
Time but it's a lot of fun. I think I hope we get to do something like that in the 600 or 1000 AD. That'd be fun to.
Who knows what secrets lie in the future or in the past or whatever. I was going to say in the future, as in the future of our playthrough, not the future as in
2300.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm trying to do here. So, Tyranno Lair is this weird, like, technological looking, like it looks like a moon base or something. It's very space agey, kind of. It's from the outside, like the little icon on the map. I was like, ooh, what's that? It looks totally crazy. And you go in, and it has such crazy, awesome music. Like, again, I don't want to just say, man, that place has a cool theme song. It's just every time we go somewhere. But it has a really cool theme song. It's very, like, string heavy and very, like, tense and kind of dissonant for a bit. And then it kind of turns into this, and it kind of, like, starts to groove a little bit,
Yeah.
It's cool, man. Like, Mitsuda, when he was writing the soundtrack, he was like, every song is going to be 2 minutes. I want to have like a whole thing. The standard was like a minute or less for game music. And he's like, I'm going to write full 2 minute things. I'm going to really push what we can do, so that it doesn't get boring. I'm going to have a whole song for all this stuff.
Right.
And I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's such a fun, interesting song. And it helps. I think that really helps the game in a lot of ways to not be like, oh, I guess I'll go fight these guys. It's fun. It's fun to explore. You rescue Kino, who's imprisoned there. I forgot to say, Kino had been captured. And then he kind of opens up this other skull. There's skulls that you walk through, which is super cool. And
looks like a kind of like a Dodongo skull from Ocarina of Time.
There is a thing that we will have to talk about more later. I've realized just how interesting it was that you brought up the Triforce in our first 2300 AD episode. We are going to have a time talking about that later. It's really, really interesting that you brought that up. Super insightful. But
you say so.
We'll get there. I'm trying not to say too much, but it's hard. It's hard to contain myself. So we fight Nizbel 2, which is Nizbel again, only way stronger, much stronger moveset again. The big, Trogdor, super beefy dinosaur.
He definitely burninated me.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And Azala is on a throne. I didn't realize Azala is a female. I mean, whatever. I figured that out this episode. But she sits on the throne. I probably said he in the previous episode, but whatever. And, basically this is a fight for who is going to be the dominant species of the rest of time. Are we going to live in an Earth ruled by dinosaurs or by humans? Is kind of what this is portrayed to be. And so Azala runs off, and there's this huge T-Rex enemy thing with like this big collar, and it's like black and white, almost a grayscale enemy. Is very interesting. So, but Azala like looks up to the sky and says, "Damnable red star." We're talking about this red star out there.
Like a little glint.
Right. We're going to basically wrap this episode probably once we find out what the red star is, and we kind of go through that last little bit. So, interesting. Did you have any thoughts about this red star before it is explicitly described to you what it was? Were you like, I wonder what that is? Or
I wasn't quite sure if it meant it was like a meteor or comet, kind of thing. Yeah. Other than that, not much.
Okay. I was just curious, if you ever have any cool theories, please interrupt me and say them before I tell what's going on. But especially as we get further in, I'd love to know what your intuition is about where the plot is going to go and stuff, next episode. So you fight, the fight is pretty interesting. The T-Rex is really not vulnerable until you beat Azala, so that's kind of cool. Again, there's just differences. It's not like big enemy, lots of health. There's always some little thing about the fight. This is interesting because there's status effects all the time. This is interesting because whatever, it teaches you to use magic, whatever. And so, and also, I was going to say, in the anime cutscene where you fly off with the Dactyls, I didn't even say anything about that, but there is that red star right at the very end. It's like this little lingering hint of what's to come. And so you win the fight, and Azala had said, she said, it's going to fall and stain the earth red and all this stuff. So then after the fight, Azala says, "No, it can't be. Could the heavens truly have sided with the apes? Listen, primates, and let it be known for all time. We Reptites fought proudly to the bitter end." And Ayla is going to extend grace and offers to bring Azala on a Dactyl and rescue her. And that doesn't happen. But, she offers. She's willing to extend mercy, even though she's been very combat focused this whole time. Let's see.
They did the music changed and became kind of sad and forlorn right at the end there when Azala is basically this is the end of us, kind of thing. I guess one of my thoughts is that we still have the monsters, we still have humans in the later ages. Are the monsters just descended of the dinosaurs? Are they the that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that they're still the evolutionary end of the dinosaurs, or there's just so many different kind of monsters that they've, depending on where they were, what time, things like that. So that's
Very
kind of
well
what
could
I
be.
thought.
Very well could be. I mean, we have a lot of like skeletons and stuff in the 600 AD, Magus's castle and stuff, but there's also a lot of other. There's a lot of very strange enemies that are hard to pin down. There's even little pterodactyl type enemies, like kind of rounded. They're not bats; they're more like dinosaurs than bats that are in that magic cave that you go through.
Right.
Right before the Fiendlord's castle. So. I don't know if it's explicitly ever confirmed, in the game, but could be, right?
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Azala didn't beg, didn't rage, just accepted that, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, like you said, declined the hand of, mercy.
Yeah. And Ayla at the end, right? So Azala kind of has her speech saying, that what's about to happen, the star is going to, a great fiery stone will crash to the earth. Its flames will soon spread to scorch every corner of the land. The chill will begin to creep across the blackened plains, ushering in a long, cruel age of ice and snow. And so we're going to have an ice age, and it's because of this star falling. And Ayla looks up at the star and says, Lavos. And so for me, that's like what? How the hell does she know what Lavos is, right? We just learned about this in 1999 or, whatever. And so Ayla says, it's Ayla people word. La means fire. Vos means big. So it's a big fire. A big fire falls from the sky. Kino comes in with the Dactyls. You escape. Azala's last plea is to say, take care of this world. Right, and so it's very weird, right? We're supposed to hate this evil reptite villain, and y'all are both like looking out for the future of the Earth, right? It's very weird. And so I had Frog with me. Frog said Lavos was not spawned by Magus. It fell from the heavens, and so long ago. Left to its own devices, the creature will burrow deep into the earth. We'd best defeat it now. And so you go down to where Lavos impacted, which is now a huge impact crater. What was the castle? That so that's an inaccessible area for the rest of the game. You can't go back there. It's been obliterated. There's a gate inside of a little cave there, but Lavos is burrowed into the earth after falling from the sky and leaving this huge crater. And so somebody in your party will ask and speculate, could Lavos be the source of the gates, the time travel gates, right? Because now there is one all of a sudden. What do you think about any of that?
I mean, I went through the gate. seems likely. There was one left behind. And what does that mean? I don't know how this beast or this creature or this being, God, is affecting the time, but it at least, at the very least, did leave a portal there for us to.
Seems plausible, right? Maybe Lavos is creating them, and so this is like, I thought is a really cool little, I hesitate to call this historical fiction, okay, but like the idea that the famous meteor that comes from space and kills the dinosaurs and makes the dinosaurs extinct, that's a chthonic god or whatever, it comes from beyond and destroys everything, but it itself is a sentient or whatever. We don't know that much about Lavos, but it's something. It's got a will and a name. It creates time gates or whatever, right? Like whatever it actually is, it's not just a rock that came from space, right? It's something that reemerges 1,999 years later on the nose. and
right.
destroys everybody. So,
And
it's
the fact
Y2K.
that it happens in 1999, which was a concern back at that time when this
Mhm.
before this game was, so the world was supposed to end on 1999 anyway.
Yep. Y2K, baby. My computer doesn't know how to count, so everything's over.
I think I think the Simpsons had an episode where it happens and everything just goes haywire. All the nuclear missiles get sent out and everything just destroyed. And that that's what is in my head at that time. So, um, Lavos is a Titan. He's just been sent to Tartarus for a while,
Right, right.
for now at least,
Well,
until
right, and
then.
big fire, right? It's got that sort of elemental nature to it. This is not a thing that you reason with, right? It's bigger than anything you'll ever build. It's, more powerful. It has control over things that we don't understand, whatever. It's like,
Right.
that's what we're setting up here. It's like just how big of a gap there is between Lavos and your silly little party of adventurers. So, yeah, I think it does a really incredible job of sort of showcasing that moment. I think it's a really cool moment. This was a couple of really big cool moments, with the fight with Magus, and just like a good story will, the stakes are increasing. We have more and more and more things that are kind of tied to this.
We've moved on from revenge being a huge driver. It's about survival now,
Yeah.
and not just for one species, but for all species and different time periods we are affected. So, uh, I guess right now I'm very confused. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know. Who is there good and evil even at this point? It's circumstances that we have to work through. There
Yeah,
may or may not be evil intent.
we haven't. I mean, it's not, and I hate to be minor spoiler for Mass Effect. Please click off the video or skip ahead 30 seconds. Okay, if you don't want to know anything about Mass Effect, but like, it's not like a sovereign, a Reaper character where you have this dialogue with Lavos and Lavos says, "Ha ha, I'm evil," right? It's not that, and I think sovereign and all that is really cool. I have complaints about Mass Effect. This is not. I'm not going to get into all this right now, but you know that is a chilling scene in Mass Effect 1 where you kind of learn the nature of that. We don't have that. We have a video footage in 2300 AD of the world ending, and we have the impact from space, and we have that somehow Magus was trying to do something with Lavos in 600 AD. We just sort of have this like little hints, but there's no haha, I'm from space and I'm here to take over the Earth or destroy the Earth or whatever. You don't really hate Lavos in the way that you would hate like, a Marvel Cinematic Universe character. I'm the evil guy here to do evil,
Right.
right? And so, yeah, it's more of a force of nature kind of a situation for now, at least. And I like it. I like it. It's just like it's a dread and a terror. It's not a we have to get back at him for what he did to my family name or whatever.
It. I think you hit it on the head. The terror aspect. It's when we see things like you talked about like the elder gods kind of thing. How big are they? Let's imagine bigger than the world. Like we see a humanoid character bigger than the world, and what goes through your head at that point? Like I can't do anything. What that is just like you shut down. Do you are you gonna fight back when that's those are the questions that start running through your heads when you're in front of something that massive. We're talking, Lavos is is fire. You know, he's the titan of lava and fire. You know, think of how terrifying volcanoes are by themselves, not when they're causing, you know, actively causing that and have that power, perhaps. Who knows? So yeah, that I'm starting to feel a little dread inside.
It's like those memes you'll see from time to time, you know, like it's a picture of, you know, a 600-foot wave about to crash onto a city. And it's like, what you do in this situation? Probably die, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to do anything about that.
You know, fighting forces of nature is completely different than fighting Voldemort. I don't know.
Right.
Sauron. You know, throw a stone at a bad guy, like, but you know, it's.
Yeah, you don't come up with a plan to go. I mean, like, what are you going to do? This is not One Punch Man, you know. It's not. You've seen that, right?
Yes, I love that.
The meteor or whatever that's coming from space. It's been a while since I watched it, but you know, it's just not. That's not. You can't do a few push-ups and go do that. So, anyway, I guess we'll learn more, right, as the plot progresses. We'll find out more. And so, just to cap off where we went for this episode, we're going now to a new time period. And so you went to a new time period. You said that you stopped right when you got to these floating islands. So the chapter that we're beginning and will be the sole focus of next episode is called The Magic Kingdom. And so I know I keep changing where you are supposed to play through because I do not know how to manage where we are going to get. But now, please play to where you can open mysterious doors. You are going to get the ability to open mysterious doors. There is one that you will open right after you get this ability, and then that's not what I'm talking about. Do that scene right after you open the first door. But after that, you're going to have the ability to go around and open other doors. You're going to be able to do that. You're going to know where to go. You can go there if you want, but just stop playing after you get the ability to unlock the doors, and you can save again and all that stuff. So, but there's going to be a fight right after you get the ability to open mysterious doors. So do that. You must lose that fight, just so you know. Don't. It's a forced lose. Before we go. Yeah.
One thing I did bring Ayla to Specchio to see if she had power.
Oh, cool.
And she did not. He said that she came from a time before magic had been around, and so she did not get any special abilities, and I promptly lost that battle with him.
That's so fascinating. She was around before magic. So, what is the source of magic, dear Corey?
We'll find out.
We will find out. Anything else on this one? I cannot wait for the next episode. Like, I want to just do it right now, but you haven't played it yet, so we can't. So
we can't.
Yeah, we can't. I have to wait. I must be patient. But yeah, any other final closing thoughts?
Sir, you're a growing boy. You need to go for lunch, so.
Yeah, well, thanks.
That's all I got.
Well, this, just a couple of quick reminders. We did set up a Patreon for this podcast. If you'd like to support the show and get access as soon as my edits are done, we get a rough cut edit, and then I'll go add music and anything else that we want to showcase. As soon as I'm done with that, it's going to be on the Patreon. So patreon.com/sidequestsages. That's in the description. And come join us in our Facebook group, the SideQuest Sages Gaming Lyceum, which, we just post memes and stuff in there. I will eventually do a post where there's like arrangements of songs from the game. I'll probably put that on the Patreon as well. But I just decided, instead of trying to do new posts about every episode, I'm just going to kind of do a thing with some greatest hits sort of arrangements of some of these,
nice,
songs and stuff. So probably once we finish the game, I'll get that together. And because I don't want to spoil any surprises, you know what I mean? I don't want you to hear an arrangement before you hear the original, or anybody else for that matter. So big thank you to our very first patron, Ryan. Appreciate you very much. I hope you're enjoying getting these early. You are the man, and we will, we'll see y'all again next week. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you guys.